All right, Brian's back. All right, so next we're going to go into the Elementals deck. This one, there's going to be some flexibility in terms of how you can build it, and so I'm going to try to go over as much of that as I can. I think, at its core, it is a blue-red deck. You'll see throughout the set some Elementals sprinkled in some other colors, like green, but I just think that, looking at it, I just think it's going to be too hard to go like 5-color elemental. There's also like Horde of Notions, which is a 5-color elemental. Do I have it over here? We'll go over that in a second. I just think it's going to be too hard to spread yourself really, and you'll just spread yourself thin if you try to go 5-color. But I'll go into some of those options. I even have some of the mana options here in the main deck so that you can kind of see how it might play out. All right, so let's go over some key cards. Again, I'm going to show kind of what you might see. You know, let's say first pick you get a lightning bolt, which is uncommon in this set, and then maybe into a burst lightning, pick 2, and then you see something like, let's see, be a good signal here that one of these is open. My personal opinion is that Smoke Braider, I gotta get my preview pane up. Smoke Braider and Incandescent Soulstoke are going to be the biggest giveaways that the deck is open because no one else wants those cards. Smoke Braider lets you add 2 mana to your mana pool and only cast elemental spells that way. Incandescent Soulstoke pumps all your elementals and lets you tap to put 1 into play and give it haste, and then I think you sacrifice it.
And that's at uncommon.
This is at uncommon. Yeah. Smoke Braider is at common. So I have 2 of these in here as an example of you would. 2 reasons why. If 2 get opened and you're the elementals deck, again, no one else wants a gray ogre that does nothing, so it's going to get past you. So if 2 get open, you're going to get it. Smoke Braider, you're more than likely going to end up with 2 of if you're the only players that drafted elementals, unless someone went into it early and then got off of it. So Smoke Braider is going to power up all of your other top end elemental cards, lets you accelerate to the top end. It does let you cast elemental spells, so there are changelings that it'll let you cast, as well as cards like a Nameless Inversion if you go with like a Black Splash that you can cast off of Smoke Braider. Incandescent Soulstoke being another one, and then really elementals comes down to, in my opinion, some of these just quality elemental cards. Water Servant is a 3/4 for 4. Lets you pump to get bigger. You can change its power and toughness, as you can see. You can give it +1, -1, or -1/+1, depending if you need a big blocker or you're attacking with it. Muldrifter, Air Servant are both high quality uncommons in this set. We'll go over those in a second because those are going to be cards you're going to have to fight for. You're not just going to get past these 5th, 6th, 7th pick. These are going to be top 2 and 3 picks of all the packs, so you're not going to get these late. Yeah. Spite Bellows is great. I think it is an uncommon in this set as well. You can evoke it to deal 6 damage to a creature if you need to get something off the board. If not, it's a 6/1 for 6, which is fine. It also works really well with like Soulstoke.
Well, it's a 6/1 for 6 that also does 6 damage
when it dies, right? So, but it's also really good with Soulstoke. Like you get in for, which would be +1/+1, 7 damage, and then when it dies, it maybe gets their creature off the board. Aether Snipe also a fine target. It's a 6 mana 4/4 that bounces a non-land permanent when it comes into play. Again, has the evoke. It's going to be near your top end. Bounce something, get something in towards the end. Hopefully, you have a Soulstoke into play so that it's a 5/5. I showed a couple other cards in here, and I think this deck may be slightly better than most elemental decks simply because I have a lot of first pick cards in here. And I didn't intend to do that.
I think that way. I'm very skeptical about this elemental deck because I think a lot of its good cards are cards that everybody wants.
Sure.
Like, anybody who's playing blue wants Repeal. I mean, I've played Aether Snipe in blue decks that didn't have anything else to do with it. Yep. Muldrifter, same story. Air Servant, even Water. Like, I don't know. I think that
I agree.
I'm concerned there's not enough. There's not enough unique cards.
I think the theme is there because they have Smoke Braider and Incandescent Soulstoke. So I think they made it an archetype. But it is 100% true that cards like Air Servant, Muldrifter, Burst Lightning, Lightning Bolt, if you end up with a deck like this, that's a lot of like first pick quality cards. And so it's hard to say if this is going to turn out that well. I have a Banefire in here as an example of another first pick quality card. The other thing I have in here is a Green Splash, because there's lots of mana fixing in this set. Expedition Map, going to get a Gruul Turf or a forest. Evolving Wilds, going to get a forest. Sphere of the Suns or Ally Mirror all let you go cast for green, and getting something like an All Suns Dawn,
Sure.
5 to get 2 or 3 cards back, and or splashing for something like Savage Twister. I'm going to talk about Savage Twister real quick in that I think it is the only multicolor card. When I say multicolor, I mean requiring 2 mana colors. The hybrid cards are an exception to this. It is the only multicolor card that I would first pick. I think all the other ones you're just unlikely enough to play any of them. And a common or uncommon or rare even. Is there?
Oh, I guess I didn't look at that.
I think even if you consider rares, like Niv Mizzet, you can't play. You would not first pick. It's just too hard to cast. Just looking through the list quick. Yeah, I don't think there's a single true multicolor card that's worth first picking other than Savage Twister, because there's only 3 Wraths in the format. This is the only one that's uncommon. The other is All Is Dust, and the other is Wildfire.
I think I'd first pick Apocalypse Hydra.
Apocalypse Hydra might be an exception too. So maybe those are the only 2 cards, and they're both in the same color combination, by the way.
And one of that
as for hybrid cards, I do think cards like Wiltleaf Liege and Creekwood Liege are highly first pickable because you can play them in a couple different decks. Anyways, to get back to this deck, I'm going to go over some of the sideboard, or some other cards I have over here in the sideboard as well, since I think these are all strong cards as well. Some of them are more rare, so you may not see them as often. Guile is awesome in this deck. It can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. If a spell or ability you control would counter a spell, instead you exile that spell and then you get to play it. So if your opponent tries to kill one of your creatures and you have mana leak up, you just totally get them. Shuffles back into your library, which is not that big of a deal. I put these 2 cards here. There is definitely a 5-color deck out there that they want. Cards like All Suns Dawn tell you that. Cards like Alloy Mirror, Sphere of the Suns tell you that. As well as these cards. They have abilities that cost mana of all colors. I think any deck that wants to play 5 colors wants to be elementals based on my initial look. It certainly wants green, so what you might end up seeing is cards like Rampant Growth move into your main, being a little heavier in the green, and just playing a long game where you get, where a card like Worldhard Phoenix can come back from your graveyard to your hand, or just go back to play.
I think
enters the battlefield with +2, so it comes back. It makes a 4/4 flyer at instant speed for 5 mana. Dragon Soul Knight becomes a 5/5 first striking flyer
with trample.
It
doesn't get first strike. Oh, he has first strike.
First strike
okay.
Naturally.
Sure.
So I put them here. I don't know how viable the 5-color deck is, but if I think, based on the fact that you have cards like Smoke Braider and Elementals scattered across the 5 colors, that you would probably
got Tribal Flames too.
You would probably have Tribal Flames in the main, because at this point it's 3 for a 3, 2 for a 3 damage spell with a forest if you have it. Even 2 for a 2/2 is fine. I'm sorry, 2 for 2 damage is fine. So it's definitely there. I have Matka Rioters here. That's another one that wants domain.
See, and I think that there's a domain deck, but I think it's almost mono green splashing every other color.
It could be mono green too. I'm concerned with the viability of it. We were talking earlier today, okay, you're gonna play 5 colors. What's the payoff? And the payoff is Worldhard Phoenix or Dragon Soul Knight, which require lots of investments.
Dragon Soul Knight isn't awful.
I'm not saying either of these are awful.
No, I'm just saying if you don't have
at the cost of 5, having to get all 5 colors, is it going to be worth it? I don't know. It's a deck that I'm sure people will try. I'm interested to see how well it will do.
Not having Tromp the Domains is a huge problem for the domain deck.
I bring this Cytoplast Rootkin is an elemental mutant, so I mentioned him in the Simic. The Graft deck. But he's also an elemental, and that's why I think him as a 4 for a 4/4 is one of the cards you want to target in the Graft deck early, because a deck like this, if it's trying to go green, is just going to snap that up because it's just too much value. Electrolyze is a card that fits right into this deck or a 5-color deck, so there's very few people that are going to want this, yet it's going to be very good in this format, so blue-red elementals is a great fit for it. I put this here, and I actually don't think this is a good fit for elementals. I don't think the elemental deck is a super aggro deck. I think it's more of a grind-out value deck, ramp to some big creatures and get that guy through. This guy can't block, and he costs triple red. I just think he's too much an investment. I think he wants to be in the black-red Bloodthirst deck. I just put them here. Vengeful Rebirth is an interesting card. Somebody wants to play it. It returns a creature card, or returns any card from your graveyard to your hand, and it deals damage equal to that converted mana cost to creature or player. So you get a card back, you deal some damage. Why not the elemental deck, especially with some of the evoke costs?
Yeah, evoke makes that really cool.
Vengeful Rebirth. Horde of Notions is the 5-color elemental. This is another, this again would be the payoff for playing 5-color elementals. It's good, but again, missing out on just one color can really bone you pretty easily. Here's another 5-color card, Etched Monstrosity, and it's an artifact.
Mythic rare.
Make it a 10. It's no longer mythic. It's now.
Oh, really?
It's a rare in this set.
Well, I'm proliferating.
5 for a 5/5, and then you can remove the counters to draw 3 cards. Again, it might be good. Don't know.
Oh,
Skyreach Manta and Etched Oracle are the Sunburst cards that could also work well in the 5-color. Even at 3 mana, like if you can play Skyreach Manta with 3 different colors, it's not the worst. 3
5 for 5 isn't the worst.
Okay. So that's kind of the Elementals deck. I'm not as sure about it. I think it needs...
What about the Soulbright Flamekin? You didn't highlight that.
Oh, I didn't highlight Soulbright Flamekin. Did I close the preview pane too? Of course I did. Show preview pane. Turn it back on. Move it over to the side. I put this in here because I think the deck wanted some more early drops, and it's a 2/1, so it's going to trade early. And if you need mana, it can make a lot. It can turn 6 mana into 8 mana.
I want to Soulbright Flamekin and
it is an option in a green-red Eldrazi deck. I have that noted on my spreadsheet as well.
Get an Emrakul off of 6 mana.
Like if you go this on turn 2 into like Kozilek's Predator on turn 4, you should be able to generate the 8 mana for Ulamog's Crusher then on turn 5. I like it. But it also goes in this deck as an early drop that, again, could power up a Banefire, could power up a lot of different things. So, cast your Spite Bellows. Well, no, you'd already have 6 to do that, but whatever. Savage Twister.
Infinite damage to all creatures.
Alright, so that is what I think you're looking at for the Elementals deck. I didn't mention this guy either. This is probably a card that only you want because you're probably the only person playing it. But this can be a 6/6. Comes into play with 4 -1/-1 counters, so it comes in as a 2/2. Eventually, all the counters come off as you cast blue and red spells, and then you can make things not able to block it. So it can be a really good finisher. And again, you're probably the only deck that wants it because this is really the only blue-red deck that exists as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
Alright, so that is the Elemental deck. We will go with the green token deck in about 20 seconds if you're on the stream, and it'll be the next video on the YouTube playlist.